Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to also share, like, and comment.
Just to acknowledge the media, the colleagues that are here, I believe at short notice, and if I may just say, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, fellow citizens, I've taken the liberty to address the press today to cover a number of areas, very briefly, but succinctly, so we can keep the nation abreast of certain important developments that need our fellow citizens to know where government stands on those issues, their government. The first issue I want to deal with is that of national unity. National unity. We have a heritage as a people, as a country, a heritage which incorporates many of us who may look different in height. Does it matter? No. In complexion? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Many of us may twist our tongues when we speak differently languages. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Because that's a gift from God. We always just find ourselves in there. I want to see a child who chooses parentage. Before they are conceived, they say, me, I want my parents to be Mr. X as my father and Madam Y as my mother. They're not conceived. Is that possible? No. So who our parents are, who or where they live is not our choice. I must also be specific. How they got to know each other, we never know because we're not there. But we are a product of love. We're a product of love, not hatred. We are made in the image of God and no one else. It's very important. Fellow citizens, I don't comment when things happen anyhow. I have quite some patience and quite some tolerance. Levels of patience and tolerance are quite high, especially a guy like me who went through a lot to stand here as a head of state. I probably went through the worst discrimination any citizen can receive from his own or her own citizens. I went through the worst. Records are there. When you experience what I've experienced, you learn to be patient. You learn to be tolerant. You also sometimes learn to ignore certain things until when it's right to speak or to say something or respond in a certain way. And I believe over years now, over months and days, putting all the things that have been going on together around this attack, insistent attack on national unity, on our heritage, on our unity in diversity, something we inherited from those that came before us. Some are gone. KK and his group are gone. Some are still alive, a very small number, freedom fighters. We have an obligation to address this issue squarely and not to scatter around, driven on the platform or the understanding that no one, and really no one, should be allowed to divide this country. It's a heritage we are proud of. 72, 73 ethnic groups. Some will like to argue that now there are 70, no, some are close, there are 30. That doesn't matter. The message is that it's a heritage. When this country was put together as a republic, others came from the north, migrated from the north. Others migrated from the south. Others from the east, west. Others moved longer distances over many years. Others short. At the time the country was pronounced as independent Zambia, it did not matter how long you traveled to sit in this geography. 752,000 square kilometers of land, 8 + 1 neighbors. It doesn't matter what agreements existed with the BSA company, Cecil Rhodes, with the Crown of England, with anyone else. It did not matter. A pronouncement was made that this board of citizens, this board of people, from now on, going forward, will be called citizens of Zambia. Full stop. And the Constitution is very clear that there's no one citizen who is superior to the other. I repeat, there's no one citizen, not even a group, that is superior to others. Where's the reference point? The Constitution. It is there. In my difficult days, when others made it clear that I was not allowed to be president of Zambia, and that they will use everything at their disposal, all the force they had at their disposal, including the military at the time, my answer was dual. 2. 1, I would say to those, go and change the Constitution. You don't want this fellow citizen to be head of state? Go and change the Constitution. It's the only justification that will allow you to talk that language, that divisive language. 2, you are not God. Therefore, you cannot say those things. And I maintain that posture. The rest is history. What has been happening in our country over years, over months, over days, is not acceptable. Divisive talk, adults meet, organized to meet, to spew hatred against fellow citizens, to sow seeds of divisions against fellow citizens. Indeed, that is weird. In a Christian country, inside the church, really? The sacred house of God, you are spewing hatred? You are proud to say that you are a violent man. You are a violent man inside the church. There's a contradiction in a Christian nation. And others are clapping honestly, we should say no to such things. To say these must stay there, those must stay there, what God put together, no one puts asunder. Honestly speaking, adults, grown-ups, incredible. As your chief servant, I'm here to say that behavior, that language proudly says, me, I can hate people, I'm violent. That's disgusting. To say the least, that's disgusting. From whichever angle you want to look at it, that's disgusting. And it should have no place in our society, in our country. And none of us should clap for such behaviors. None of us. We shouldn't teach children, our children, hatred. We should teach our children love and accommodation. That's what we should teach our children. If you're a responsible parent, you teach your children love, tolerance, diversity, unity in diversity. Honestly speaking. And I urge the people of Zambia, we should not clap for such. We should not encourage lunacy. That's lunacy. If our forefathers behaved like that, would have never had independence. Some of you are young. Political parties, we were a multi-party state at independence, not a one-party state. First election, there was no absolute winner to form government. 3 parties emerged. European Party, 2 liberation parties, UNIP and ANC. 2 out of these 3 needed to come together to form government, despite their differences in policies. UNIP under KK, ANC under Nkumbula. One was socialist orientated, one was market-based. In national interest, they came together. That's great. That's how it should be. 60 years later, others are pulling away. No. We shouldn't teach our children bad manners at dinner tables, divisive and angry hearts. Cabinet met yesterday to arrest this issue and do it decisively. Cabinet met yesterday and resolved to amend all laws which flow out of the Constitution, amend all those laws that have to do with discrimination of this nature, as we have experienced in an ugly way, and bring about amendments that will stiffen penalties and make it unattractive for anyone to spew hatred against fellow citizens. I must actually say, against humanity. Reflect on Rwanda genocide. Started like this, just like this. Kids thought it was normal to say, find a Tutsi, kill them. You are Hutu, find a Tutsi, kill them. Became normal. The churches got involved. The churches, the body of Christ got involved in spewing hatred and funding weapons of murder. Go to Rwanda and look at the museum there. I'm happy to sponsor all those that met to spew hatred which could lead to civil strife. Not from government resources, but from my own farming resources, to send them to Rwanda for a study tour to understand that there's no price you can attribute on such behavior. So to forestall that once and for all, the laws yesterday, Cabinet passed a Cabinet memo to allow the amendment of the laws so that anyone who does that goes in for a long time, for a very long time. So it will be unattractive. Parliament opens, that law will be tabled and it will be enacted. So we call on Parliament, and recognized members of Parliament are also seated here. I should have acknowledged you. Parliament is expected to do what is right, to pass that law or those laws. That's my message, fellow citizens. It's my duty, it's our duty to do what is right. For me, I thought colleagues would change. After a while, they've refused to change. So you have only one way. When you cannot negotiate, you have to use the law to moderate people who are excessive. So, you have had hate speech against fellow citizens, then you choose to go inside there. You are lucky that there will be mattresses for you. This government has brought mattresses and beds, but it's not the same. Next, rule of law. Rule of law. Rule of law. And as I touch on the rule of law, just to reinforce other measures, that the school curricula, we also agreed yesterday in Cabinet, I beg your pardon, that the school curricula will now take into account the importance of teaching children from an early age national unity. Our values as a country, as a nation, and that the country comes first. We take care of the country's needs, our needs will be taken care of, not the other way around. School curricula. Cabinet resolved yesterday that subjects or topics will be orchestrated around there. At least we can save the younger generation. Some of the older ones are gone, they're finished. They're polluted, their heads are polluted. But the only way to deal with them is prosecution and jail. That's it. But for the young ones who we care for most, we can breed a group of citizens that love each other, that support each other. After all, you are married to each other. I don't know why people would pretend when they're in politics away from the bedroom. You marry people from anywhere. On the copper belt in church, I gave an example that here on the copper belt, then I was on the copper belt. You have a husband, Bemba, married to a Tonga woman, and they produce 3 children. Follow this example carefully. Not 4, 3. Now, who is, of the 3 children, who is Bemba? Who is Tonga? Of the 3 children, who is neither of the 2? So one is Bemba, one is Tonga, another one, you have to cut them in the middle. to be fair, to share. Really, as you sit here, ask yourself a question. Is that how we should live? Ngoni marries Enamwanga. A Lambia, many of you don't know that we have a Lambia group in this country because we are too proud to respect others. That's a weakness. A Lambia marries a Lozi woman. What do you call those children? Let me give you my own example. Most of you are not aware. My wife is Sala, Soli, Lenje, and Lamba. 4. Soli, Sala, Lenje, Lamba. Me, I'm Ila and Tonga. So that's 6. So what are my 3 children now? What do we call them? Honestly, this is disgraceful. Other measures will be taken into account to reinforce this issue. Rule of law. We were elected as a government 2021. Amongst the measures we said publicly and campaigned was that we will restore the rule of law. We campaigned on that platform. We will restore the rule of law. We will not allow hooliganism. We would not allow thuggery of what we experienced 10 years earlier, particularly 7 years. We didn't see that under President Sata's 3 years. May he so rest in peace. One person took over to complete that 10-year term through elections. It was thuggery. It was brutality. It was bloodshed. One person who works for APSA told me, Mr. President, we couldn't wear our APSA uniform, which is red, going to the office. We would have to put it in the bag, wear something else, maybe green. And when we reach the bank, we go in the toilet and change and wear our red uniform. APSA or Zanaco, for that matter. Have we forgotten? Have we forgotten, fellow citizens, so quickly? Natulabakale, fialechtika, kunumaku. Not too distant, but baby. That's what we members say. But I'm saying, have we forgotten what was happening behind us? Not far behind, just very near. That some of us couldn't use airports, couldn't go to church, couldn't go to traditional ceremonies. Ngawaya ni chiluburi. Shibaku puma. Sana. Umulopa was a normal thing. Blood was a normal thing in the markets, daily. That intercity blood was normal. Simpson building around there, it was normal. Have we forgotten, colleagues? And one of our commitments to the people of Zambia was when you put us in office, we will restore order and the rule of law. I'm here to stand, and I stand here, so to say, to reinforce that position. Again, I told you, don't misunderstand my patience to mean I'm unaware. No. That would be a grave mistake. Completely grave mistake. We are aware, we are monitoring. Those who orchestrated violence are missing something. I'm aware. Those who emulated the violent ones are also missing thuggery. I can see. I'm watching, I'm looking, as you are doing yourselves. But I'm here to say to you, that thuggery, that violence, even when old habits die hard, even when thugs mutate from one political party to another to continue their journey of violence, I'm here to tell you that that will not be allowed. That will not be tolerated. Absolutely not. If we need to reinforce the laws, we'll do that. But I think for now, the laws that are there are very clear that violence is not part of us. And therefore, the police do not need my reminder. Law enforcement agencies is not there to negotiate. You are not there to negotiate whether to arrest somebody or to put them in. When they turn violent, they become thugs in public roads or in other places. You don't need the president to give you a call. You don't need the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security to give you a call to remind you to enforce the law. Let me draw the distinction. At that point, negotiations are only done in the communities about which law should be amended or enforced. Choose your own language or expression. In Parliament, you negotiate, you reach out to other MPs, can we amend this law? But as for the police and other law enforcement, there is no negotiations. You just enforce the law. There's no negotiation. That's not your role. You want someone to negotiate, pass it to Parliament. And let the parliamentarians lobby each other. Yours is to enforce the law. If you fail to enforce the law, it will be an admittance of failure to perform your duties. Hepela. Kwamana. I know what was happening before. I know one thug who went into Central Police and beat the hell out of the policeman and was never put behind bars. No one in any political party, in any church, no matter how big that church is or small, will be allowed to enter a police station and beat policemen and get away with it. Actually, we are looking at that case now. I want that case to come back. Me, I was just saying, finish Shashu Papa number. What's the problem? So hear me out, fellow citizens. You will not hide behind a political party. You will not hide behind a church. Inside the church or outside the church. You will not hide behind a civil society membership or OSIS or anything. That will not protect you. You break the law, the police take you. No negotiations. Those guys who were doing thuggery yesterday went to bury a colleague, may his soul rest in peace, and from the burial site or before started harassing people, throwing obscenities at innocent road users. I'm expecting each and every one of them to be arrested. You can't claim to do that in the name of supporting HH. Ikonaman. No. You can't claim that if you get arrested, you will not vote for HH in 2026. Maybe I don't need your vote. I don't want to be a president who is produced by thugs and turn me into a thug. Icona. No. And anyone in politics, in the church, in the civil society, in the HH home, orchestrating, planning violence, you're on your own. I repeat what I've said. If the police are failing, I'll use the army. That's my job. That's the constitutional rights that the head of state, who is the commander-in-chief, if the police fail to discharge their duties, I'll use the military to restore law and order. But the police must ensure that, and other law enforcement, we don't go that far. But I can assure you, if you claim you support a genuine supporter of HH, who has been preaching peace, you can't go in the streets and start beating people. I know we are being provoked. Let me say something here. Once one colleague went into the market and walked around, where there was peace in the markets, now members in the same market started turning on each other. Are you surprised? Why? Because he encouraged that. And if you call that democracy, democratic space, I disagree with you. I totally disagree with you. And no one is above the law. I hear people talk about immunity. Why are you talking about immunity? The immunity of the head of state is only relevant during the time they are in the presidency. The crimes they commit outside the presidency is not covered by that immunity. That's the law. So why are you talking about immunity? I don't understand. One person goes in the market, days, in fact, the same day, members of the same society and market start fighting. Next, we see pangas, we see sticks. So now, for some young people, they're saying, oh, so this bloodletting is coming back now. We must defend ourselves. And they shout on social media, and I'm listening, that this president did not allow us to revenge in 2021. That's why I'm with you, but I disagree. That's why I did not allow revenge or avenging on the 16th of August 2021. If I allowed that, this country would have been in smoke. What country would I want to rule when the country is in smoke? Am I a leader? I am not. I stand by that. And I want to ask UPND members to accept the position of this fellow, to protect every citizen. Now that we did that, we don't also expect anyone else to provoke the citizens and start engineering and recurrence of those memories, brutal memories. No. No one will be allowed to do that. No one. Police, you got my message. I repeat, all those that disturbed, harassed the public, damaged someone's property yesterday, we expect them to be arrested. Those two who are wanting to take us back to the rivers of blood, you will be arrested as well. If you scheme things that don't exist to malign people, well, you're on your own. Those who give sympathy to such people You will just stand and look because you have no ability to stop them from being thrown in and prosecuted. And prosecutions must be expeditious. I think the point is well made. Loud and clear. Very loud and clear. Judiciary must play their part. We all play our part. The executive will play its part. Colleagues, third issue is fight against corruption. Fight against corruption. The fight will continue. Very straight and clear. The fight against corruption shall continue. Actually, we are now more ready than before. We have amended the laws, 3 or so pieces of legislation that were standing in the way. We have created the Economic and Financial Crimes Court, dedicated prosecutions. We have also amended the practicing procedures. You already know this, I'm reminding you, the nation, that any such crimes will be prosecuted within 5 months. If you were banking that you can survive for another 20 years and there will be another government, you have missed the shot. Within 5 months, the prosecutions will be done, of course after due investigations. As I've always said, no arresting innocent people, investigate first, arrest, prosecute, court within 5 months. I can see the jitters, I can see the panic. I feel it. That's why there's this carelessness you are seeing now, threatening people. Honestly, you were threatening people when you were in government. You are outside government, you are still threatening people. Ushe, what sort of thinking is that? Even if you are a violent man, what sort of thinking is that? Now, those you threatened when they were outside government and they're in government, you believe they're standing on the same position? Honestly? That is unfortunate. Why should we threaten each other? Let's talk to each other. Let's dialogue. Let's talk to each other. But the fight against corruption continues. 2 angles. Asset recovery. There is no turning back. Asset recovery, restore the money to the owners. Children need desks, that's their money. We need medicines in hospitals. We need, Minister of Finance is here, we need to increase CDF even more. It's doing wonders. That was the money which was being stolen. Now it's available for CDF to train kids, artisanal skills, to send children to boarding schools, those who are not able to afford, parents, so to say, to pay retirees. That's why we need to asset recover. Colleagues, the next arm is prosecution. I've heard people saying, no, asset recovery is not enough. 2 things, asset recovery and prosecutions, which will lead to acquittal or conviction. Conviction, you go in. So you lose the money you stole, so you don't buy expensive lawyers. Then you go in. You're fortunate that this government has bought mattresses because we're human beings. We're not animals. We're human beings, respecting the rights of people, even those in detention or in correctional services. That's my message. No one will use language to escape the fight against corruption. Corruption of today, tomorrow, yesterday, today, tomorrow. No one. You can't escape by saying, I'm a member of a political party. No. You can't escape by saying, because of my tribe. This smelly stuff, which we keep propagating. Yet when you fall in love with a beautiful woman, you don't ask what language they speak, you just marry. Can you see what nature does? Nature drives you to do the right things. How can you hate where you love? It's not possible. No religion will protect any corrupt. As I said about criminality, no religion will protect a criminal. If you are an Adventist like me, and you steal public resources, me, the elder, will work to put you inside. Yes. I'm the elder in the church. Me, the elder, I'll work very hard to put you in and take away the money you took from the people. That goes for any church. And please, churches, don't stand for the corrupt and stroke religious emotions. No. When people steal, they don't steal for the church. They don't steal for the tribe. They steal because of their greed. Simple. So that's all. I have nothing more to say around the fight against corruption. It will continue. We are better placed now. We've also done our benchmarking. We've signed various agreements with international parties. Our job will be more effective now than before. We've done our homework in the last 2 years. That's why you are seeing more recoveries now. I'm sure you've noted the trend has changed. More recoveries. And we will push that hard. There's no room for theft, petty or large scale. And by the way, Cabinet yesterday agreed to increase the penalties for those that steal from the people. For those that pull away electric cables, for those that vandalize public assets, private assets, you go in for a longer period. We want a country where corruption, theft is not tolerated. Investments will come from fellow citizens. If you invest in a center pivot, 1 hectare center pivot, which is what we are promoting, a crank comes in the night and steals the motor. And that center pivot, 1 hectare center pivot, is owned by a widow who got support from CDF or from CEC, or indeed under the disaster, and I'm going to talk about it. And the center pivot is gone. Food security is gone. Why should we promote such people in our country? Actually, there's no line. People say there's a thin line between the corrupt and the thieves. No, it's one and the same. It's the same coin. You just flip it. Right? Fellow citizens, disaster and emergency. We declared a disaster and an emergency early on, ahead of the pack. That's what leadership is, not to wait for the pack. The drought we've never seen in memory. That's a phenomenon of God or nature. It isn't man-made. Climate change, yes, you can say it's instigated by pollution, yes. But really, which country receives rain, which doesn't receive rain, is not a decision of any particular leader or government or people. We get afflicted. And we declared this drought, which has caused food insecurity, energy insecurity, transcending into potential economic shutdown when there's no energy, as a disaster and emergency. Our focus is dual. One, to feed the people, to feed fellow citizens. No one should die of hunger. And all of us, Secretary of the Cabinet, We left State House yesterday around 22, 23 hours to make sure that we secure food for all our people in the 84 districts, determined by science, by research. That is a drought. Food must move to our people. Reverse order. Where FRA buys maize from, we are taking maize back to those depots, closer to the people. Very clear agenda. And your government, ministers, cabinet, permanent secretaries, this is the time we work double shift. Procurement people, please don't sit on decisions because you are looking for something. You will be in line for trouble. We were here up to 22, 23 hours last night to make decisions, to move, bring in enough maize, to mop the maize from different corners within the country and elsewhere and move it. Food for work at a lower price, enhanced social cash transfer to support our people so they don't die of hunger. This is a big program. It's a national program. It's not a UPND government or alliance program. It's a national program. All of us must support it. And if we start encouraging people to fight in the markets instead of focusing on the drought, what sort of leaders are we? Honestly speaking. Really? The second arm is to improve our resilience. When the drought hits us next, we should be better prepared in many ways. One, we must water harvest for irrigation, for productivity improvement. At least when we irrigate, one center people was talking about, solar energy, whatever source of energy. That's what we're working on. Colleagues in energy, we have a meeting this week, Friday, to assess the progress we're making so that we don't have an economic shutdown. As colleagues in water, again, yesterday in the cabinet meeting, we took decisions on energy, on water, to alleviate the food insecurity situation, the energy insecurity, the threat on the economic activity. Power must be available to irrigators so we can produce food even in the dry season. That's a serious problem. We need everybody's hands and brain ideas, and they are all welcome. So, if that is what is preoccupying us, why should we now be digressed by lawlessness, by sowing seeds of pangas again in the markets, reminding the youth of what it was just 2 years, 11 months ago? Human nature is that people react. Say, oh, yayamba futi ndewa manje. Uyungata bwera yayamba ndewa apa. And people react that way. We shouldn't do those things. Let's focus on feeding the people and working on irrigation. I'm not saying we shut down democracy. That's not what I'm saying. It's what someone who writes. That the president said, shut down democracy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we must understand our priorities. We must understand the need to maintain the rule of law. We must understand the need to fight corruption. That's what I'm saying. My message is simple and clear. So I ask the whole government machinery, we're working with the civil society, we're working with the church, those who have capacity to distribute, we're working with them. If you know an institution you are associated with which has experienced knowledge of distribution of food to the vulnerable, Cabinet Office is there, DMMU is there, as a team who enlist that organization. Women organizations, as I said, church, civil society, international organizations. We're working with the UN system here. I think that's our responsibility. God says, I put you in charge at a particular time, not your choosing, but my choosing. That's God. And when I do that, I will not give you a load you cannot carry. You will be able to carry it. But for us to carry that load, we must be organized. We must work together. We must not throw money or allow it to be stolen, because we need every penny to now avail food and irrigation for our people. That's the message.
What's up? My name is Ken Bimbo, the MC with the sauce. Don't forget to subscribe to J Cool.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, J Cool, and turn on the notification bell, cause I'm gonna see you in the next video.